Hi everyone, it's Caroline, and this is Body Empowerment, and today I wanted to talk about binge eating disorder. So binge eating disorder is one of the various specified types of eating disorders, and it happens to be the one that affects the most number of people in terms of those affected by an eating disorder. So I think it's a really important topic with regards to body empowerment and eating disorder recovery for several reasons. One is because it affects the most number of people, but I feel like it's not something the general population and people within the eating disorder community really understand and know much about. I've shared my story over the years on this channel. When I first had an eating disorder, I had an eating disorder from when I was 11 to 21. So that's, like the mid-90s to the mid-2000s. And at the onset of my eating disorder in the mid-90s, binge eating disorder was not even known as an entity. From what I knew, binging was something people knew about. Eating disorders were something people knew about. Binge eating was something people knew about. But everything was sort of classified as either you're anorexic or you're bulimic. And so it took me years to learn about binge eating disorder, to realize that there were parts of my own eating disorder when I suffered from binge eating disorder. So for example, for me, when I shifted from anorexia to bulimia, that period in between was about a year of my life, and that was binge eating disorder. And that's very common when people are not feeding themselves, not nourishing themselves, when they're restricting and starving and experiencing anorexic symptoms. That is very often followed by some sort of binging, and so that's kind of common, and I didn't know that when I was in 8th grade, but looking back on my symptoms and behaviors, what I was doing was undoubtedly binge eating disorder. Had we known more about binge eating disorder in 1997, I would not have then transitioned into bulimia. Who knows? But so to me, this is a really important topic because, again, while the bulk of my own eating disorder was mostly bulimia in terms of like the ratio of years I spent in each eating disorder, type of eating disorder, most people's experience really does run a spectrum. I still feel like it's so important to talk about it and to create awareness for prevention and recovery and treatment, and also, like, in the context of these crazy conversations we're having in this country about obesity, very often people misunderstand obesity with regards to binge eating disorder and vice versa, and sometimes there may be a linking where a symptom of binge eating disorder may result in obesity, but that's not always the case. There are so many things behind people's weight structure and experience, and also, there are people that don't look like they binge eat that have binge eating disorder. So I think it's really important to dispel a lot of these myths. Another myth that is crucial that I think I read this article, and I'm gonna link to it, but I'm gonna read a little bit from it. It was on Health News, UPI.com Health News, and it was about a study being done at Wesleyan University about how so many men are affected by binge eating disorder, but most of the research and study being done is focusing on women. The myth that eating disorders only affect women are definitely being dispelled. There are some incredible sites and bloggers out there and nonprofit organizations working hard to dispel that myth, like Men Have Eating Disorders Too, and there's another blog, Until EDs Are Done. I'll link to all this stuff. But this article is great because it's, here this lens into binge eating disorder is helping to further dispel the myth that eating disorders are gender specific, and they're absolutely not. They don't discriminate against any demographic. I think that there are a lot of people that probably don't realize that their behaviors and symptoms are an eating disorder. So today is November 7th that I'm posting this video, And in 2 days, on November 9th, it is the Give to the Max Day in the greater Washington area. And basically, all these nonprofits and charities in the D.C., Baltimore area are doing a 24-hour Give to the Max fundraising day. And the Binge Eating Disorder Association, BEDA, is one of those organizations. So I want to encourage you to check out BEDA's website, to check out the link for giving to BEDA on November 9th. And I encourage you to support BEDA as an effort to help create resources and information and prevention and recovery treatment options for those suffering from binge eating disorder and for their loved ones to better understand what the illness is about. This is more of an informational video, I realize, than most of my videos in the past. So with that, please share your thoughts and stories, and if you have questions about binge eating disorder, I'm happy to answer to the best of my knowledge and then send you to the right places and resources. But more than anything, I was hoping that this could spark dialogue, as always. And any questions and topics, ideas for upcoming episodes, please let me know. Thanks, everyone.